Hey guys, welcome to a replay analysis. And today's replay analysis is gold level Protoss versus Zerg, gold level PvZ. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what Jacones is up to. Let's help him as much as we possibly can. He says he hates lurkers. So, let's see if we can help him. Make sure you re-rally that Nexus. Okay. Okay. I don't like... So, already, your build's a little fucked up. Here's why. You never re-rallied the Nexus. Your first probe should 100% be rallied to your natural. That's totally fine. And then... you want to build a pylon and then a gateway, right? It's very standard, super standard. It's required. It's standard. But you have wasted 3 probes mining time when you only had to waste 1. Because here's why. The first probe builds the pylon and goes and scouts. The second probe went on the rally point still that this is on, and it went up to about there, and then it turned around. And it came back to the mineral line, which is about like 8 seconds or like 10 seconds of wasted time to go like up and then back. And then the third probe goes up to build the gateway. Now your gateway is super delayed as well because of this. Your gateway, your tech is going to be so fucking late that you're not going to be building your gateway until probably almost 300 minerals. So around 300, maybe even like 310. But the reason why is because it depends on how many probes you queue up. But this is a super late gateway. If you think about it, we'll look at time now as a resource. So you can see probe 1. Now we can see probe 2. Goes up and back. And then we can see, and then he finally gets to a patch. And then we can see probe 3 goes up and builds the gateway. The gateway goes down at 50 seconds when it could have gone down at 39. You could throw a gateway down right now. So your gateway is already 11 seconds late with the way you're doing this. And what is the trade-off here for having an 11-second late gateway? What is the like? So we already talked about the negatives. You're losing mining time on 3 probes, and you have an 11-second late gateway. That's fucking bad. That's some negative shit right there. But what's the trade-off in the positive? You're scouting really fast. He will know if he's getting 12 pulled. Here's the thing. If you build a gateway with the probe at 39 seconds and you leave your base at 40 seconds, it takes you 1 second for the probe to build the gateway and then it goes. Watch this. Your probe left your base from right here, right now, 24 seconds. So at 24 seconds to 39 seconds. This is, remember we said 39 seconds is when you could have built the gateway. That's a 15-second discrepancy. Okay? 15-second discrepancy. So now that we know it's a 15-second discrepancy of what your scout is, let's look and see if you see anything in that 15-second window that is relevant. What is relevant in these 15 seconds? So you see his natural. You could have blocked his natural. Now, I will say this. You can 100% block the natural. But it only makes sense if you do that, if you follow it up with adepts. Because if you follow it up with adepts, that's very powerful. But that's also something I would never recommend anyone to do that is not like master's level. Because that's going to make you have to micro a shitload as Protoss to make it worthwhile. And you're going to fuck it up like crazy if you're not masters. Like, it's going to fall apart. So, but you're just scouting. So he built it anyways, right? But now look at this. You're getting into his base. You're getting into his base at 55. So you would have gotten into his base at 105 or at yeah, at 110. 110 is when he would have gotten into his base. So let's see what happens with what you see now and what you see at 110, or what is there at 110. So you just saw nothing. So what are you going to do with this probe? You would be walking to his base right now going in, and what would you see this time? You'd see a pool this time. What's your probe going to do? Does it go home? It goes home. Okay. The point I'm trying to make here is if you gateway scout or if you pylon scout, you're going to know if he is going to be 12 pulling you either way before lings are at. So the difference is if you pylon scout a 12 pool, you will get to the Zerg's base when the pool is like there. It's like where the green box is. That's where the pool will be. It'll be almost done and lings are about to start. That's what'll be happening if you pylon scout. Here's what happens if you probe scout after the gateway is done. Like after you start the gateway and then you go probe scout. You'll be getting to the Zerg's base when the pool is done and there are 3 eggs in production. And I'm going to tell you right now, if a fucking Zerg player has a pool that is done already and they have 3 eggs in production, you can 100% guarantee that those are Zerglings. That is a 12 pool. Because if someone makes it, if someone literally doesn't make any drones at the start of the game and they just save for a pool and then make a pool and then they make just drones after that, that build, fucking bad build. It's a bad build if that's what they're doing. They all just make drones off of a 12 pool. Like, what? No one does that. It's awful. If you make it, if you're gonna actually invest into a 12 pool, you might as well make lings out of it, right? So, if you saw, oh, he's got a pool and he's got 3 eggs already started, means that probably in like the next like 10 seconds, eggs are gonna spawn Zerglings, so you can then run home and all you want to see is, does he have a gas? Does he have a gas with this pool? And if the answer is yes, you should be expecting some more elaborate form of 12 pool, like maybe it's going to be a fast layer, maybe it's going to be a fast speedling and baneling, maybe it's going to be just speedling, maybe it's going to be roaches really fast. Whatever. But if there's no gas with it, you should be expecting him to be taking a natural and going for a macro version of a 12 pool. But again, the point is, there is zero justification for defensive scouting after a pylon. You don't need to do it. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. It only makes sense if you ever watch a streamer do this and you're like, well, this guy fucking pylon scouts. I watched Showtime play a fucking PvZ and he pylon scouts. Well, I guarantee he probably sends an adept with the pylon scout because his pylon scout is supposed to block the hatchery so that he can use adepts and just be fucking annoying up and down. But someone of that skill level has the ability to micro it and macro at the same time and be very annoying. Not something you should be doing in Gold League. So long story short, Gateway Scout. I tried to explain why just now, but yeah, you definitely should be Gateway Scouting, not Pylon Scouting. Because you have way too many inactive probes. Excuse me, sorry. Your build's fine, though. You have the right idea. I would also recommend maybe making a sentry second, and the reason why I would say that, we'll see what tech you make second, but if it's not a Stargate, I would highly recommend sentry second. Also, if this is Gold League, I'm really curious to see what you do. I don't know if this is going to be beta GM or not. If it's beta GM, also, I guess I don't care if you make a sentry second or not either. As it looks like it's going to be beta GM possibly, because you're making a Roma. Be very careful with your pylon and your battery as well. Never stack them like that. Don't ever stack them. You should have definitely put your shield battery to the right by 1. So like where the green box is, that's where your shield battery should be. And the reason why is because if this guy made corrosive bile ravagers, he could kill both your battery and your pylon at the same time, and that would suck pretty bad. We got a little bit of a supply block going on. Kind of sucks. It's okay though. I'm glad you made a sentry. I highly recommend you make the sentry 2nd and not 3rd. But I'm glad you made it either way. That way, getting a scout off is really nice with the hallucination. Also, definitely be very careful about your rally point. I think the sentry should literally be here right now. And the reason why, here's why. You're actually risking yourself a little bit right now by... if this dude showed up with Mass Zergling, you'd be fine. If this dude showed up with Ling Bane, you'd be fine. Probably. Unless he went for a building and he actually blew up like a gateway or something. If this guy went for Ling or Roach, you might not be fine. And here's why that is. Sorry. Right now, if this was Ling Bane or Mass Ling, probably your shield battery would be able to heal everything through the amount of Banes your opponent could have right now. Like if your opponent had like 10 Banes, nothing would die. They would take damage, but nothing would actually die, because even the Stalker. Because the shield battery can heal through the Baneling damage well enough, because the Baneling isn't doing its light damage to anything here. So the shield battery is very realistic at healing through it. But if it was Ling Roach, let's say he had like 7 roaches with like 30 lings or something. Like he was going full all in here. Or if he had like 3 ravagers and like 30 lings, and he was corrosive biling the doorway of your stalker just so you move out of the way, and he tried to flood you right as it happened, like right as you walk out of the way, or if you blow up to the corrosive bile, then you die. But you want to have the sentry there just in case you need a force field, in case you get all in really early. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if someone opens with a gas, they could very well have speed by 330. If they open up with like hatch gas spool, 330 is totally a speed timing. And you scouted with a pylon, and you left his base, so you actually have no idea if he opened with a gas or not, because you left before he even made a pool. That's also why I want you to gateway scout, because now you'll actually know as well, more likely, if your opponent's going to stay gasless longer, or if they're going to take a standard gas. You left his base at like 1 minute, which is very early. That was before he even threw a pool down, and like before he had enough money to throw a pool and a gas down after making a natural. So, yeah, it just gives you more information to work with, because right now you're super fucking blind. You have no idea if this dude's all-inning you or not. So having a sentry closer to your wall will help. If you get all in, it'll help not die. I don't feel blind? Or I did feel blind. Okay, I thought you said I don't feel blind. You did? Yeah, you're definitely blind in this game. You have no idea what he's doing. Like, I would... What you need to know is you need to know, when does your opponent take their gas? And you need to know, do they continue to mine gas after 100? Because 100 is what speed costs. And if they do continue to mine gas after 100, it means they're either teching really fast, or they're going to probably all-in you. And if you don't see speed overlords flying through your base in the next minute or so, expect to be attacked by some bullshit. And if you don't get attacked by some bullshit, expect like potentially fast mutas. Or like now it's layer. Why did you go layer so fast? What are you doing with that? You going really fast lurker? You going really fast muta? What the fuck is the deal here? Like why such a fast layer? Things like that. And if you know, then that's what you should be thinking about when you scout with a hallucinated phoenix. Being like, what am I looking for? And what are you doing? If your opponent's not attacking you, well, then it's probably going to be something defensively in his, or like something else with his gas that's not just a bunch of roaches or banes, which again might be layer focused. And if you, let's say you actually scouted and you were like, okay, he's got a third's not even done yet and it's got 2 gases at it, natural's done, it's got 2 gases at it, main is done and it's a layer and it's got 2 gases at it, I'd be like, this definitely seems like mutas. Stuff like that. You can kind of read their build before you see their build, because you can read what it looks like it's building into. Because someone who takes really early gas and non-stop mines it is most likely not going to be going for just a bunch of speedlings. Unless you scouted like 2 Evo chambers or something like that, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. But ViBE, what if you get jebaited? If your opponent mines a shitload of gas and then does nothing with it, his build falls in the realm of inefficient build. Where, like, let's say your opponent mines 500 gas because they're like, I'm gonna metagame my opponent. Well, if your opponent has an inefficient build and you just play efficient, you win. And how do you play efficient? Fucking do a proper build that makes sense. Don't do a build that mines 500 gas and sits there in your bank account and does nothing. Do a build that actually uses your gas as you obtain it. That's how you play efficient. You don't waste resources.
I return to serve.
Because it's not free. If someone were to like mine gas for no reason, it means that their third base is going to be later. Their queens are going to be later. Their larvae will be used later. Everything gets delayed. So already, right now, we see a couple things. We see a Zerg player who had no creep spread initially when you scouted over it. Right, so look at this. I'm going to run you through some scout ideas here, okay? How to read a Zerg player. Nothing, 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 nothing. Creep. Okay. We now know something. We now know the Zerg player has a third base. What does this mean? This tells us this Zerg player does not have 4 gases. This Zerg player should definitely not have 4 gases. And why is that? You should not have all your gases and a third base really fast. Now, we don't know how fast the third was entirely because we finally scouted at 5 minutes, so we got to keep that in mind. But this third is not incredibly delayed, so I don't expect the Zerg to be going for some super fast layer rush just based off of this. They still could, and it could be inefficient, but just looking at the fact that the Zerg has a third, I'm not too worried. I wouldn't be too worried about a super fast layer rush. Now, let's look at the mineral line, because that's another piece of information. Okay, Queen is out. It just spawned because we can see it just started shooting the hallucinated phoenix. We see larva sitting at the hatchery that is not being utilized, which now is making me think there's more of a gas focus. We also see there is no drones on the third mineral line either. This is a very undersaturated third base. So this tells me that, excuse me, Jesus. This tells me that this Zerg player is not going for high eco, not going for a bunch of drones. He's going for probably, he like this tells me now there is maybe not a massive gas focus, but there's at least a little bit of a gas focus. That's how we should read this, because if this was a mineral focus, by 5 minutes, this third mineral line should have like at least 10 drones on it, at least. Like if this guy's focus was getting a third base really fast, and he wanted to make drones off of 1 gas only and like kind of stop at speed as well, so he wanted to maximize his minerals, this third base should have a lot more fucking drones at it. It only has 2, so I would be like expecting more gas to be had at his other bases. Excuse me. So let's see what's going on. You scout up. Now look at this. We see a mineral line that's still not even fully saturated. It's somewhat close. I would say if I had to guess, this mineral line looks like it has probably like 14 drones on it. It does not look fully saturated. There are too many patches with one drone on it, and there's not enough of a clump of drones to make this feel like it's fully saturated. So I would say this mineral line probably has like 14 drones on it, and he's already mining a fully saturated gas. He's already mining 2 fully saturated gases. So now I'm feeling like there is a bit more of a gas emphasis, which means this build is now inefficient because he can't afford this unless these are his first 2 gases, because again, we don't know anything here. We know nothing about the main base yet. We see another gas and a layer, and we see another gas. And look at this fucking mineral line. This mineral line has garbage drone saturation at it. He's also ripping 3 off again to put on the gas mine. This mineral line looks like it has about looking like 8 drones on it now, or like 9 drones on it. So this dude has like 9 drones here. He's got like 14 drones here. He's got 2 drones here. This build is low efficiency. This is not a scary economy. This is a very weak economy for Zerg. So this is what I would say is inefficient, and it's got a layer, and he's got 4 gases cranking as a priority. So what do I think a build is? What builds exist that have a layer focused priority of gas? Mutalisk or anything out of the infestation pit? Probably not like you could go Hydras too, for the sake of going Lurker, but you probably aren't going to want to go Hydras with this either, because if you go Hydras with this, you kind of need a mineral focus with Hydra, because Hydras are more mineral expensive than gas expensive. So if you have really shitty mineral income, you're not going to be able to make a lot of Hydras anyways. And Hydras in low numbers are pretty garbage. So it's either Lurkers, Mutas, or Infestation Pit is what it should be if it makes sense. But no matter what it is, it's inefficient because it's way too much gas, way too fast. I would guess Mutas. It's a really fast gas priority. So how do you confirm it's Mutas? Do another hallucinated scout as soon as you can. Get a follow-up read once it's ready. And look, it's almost ready to go again. So you don't have to wait for very long to do this. You know, we'll see how long it takes to react. But in the meantime, as long as you're making units the whole time efficiently, it doesn't matter what he's doing, you should be totally fine. Your probes are not being made on 2 of your Nexus. There we go. Now you are. Okay, good. Good scout. Your scouting is great. Sentry should have been made a little bit faster, but other than that, your usage of your hallucinations is wonderful. It's super good. Your probe count is already at 15 on your 3rd base. That's super good. I love it. You want to know a fun fact? Remember how I talk about efficiency versus non-efficiency? Your build is definitely more efficient than your opponent. Hence the reason why nothing has died this game, really. Only a couple of Zerglings have died. And yet you're ahead by 20 supply already. Like, this is not acceptable for Zerg. That means that the Zerg's build is super fucking inefficient. And now what are we going to see? We see an infestation pit and a hydrogen. So this guy could be doing a couple things with this now. This is how I would look at this and react to this. I would go, okay, we got a hydrogen. But hydras don't really make a lot of sense because you need a good economy to make hydras. So Lurker makes more sense because hydras are required to go into Lurkers. But because this guy is going for such a gas-focused build, if he's trying to do something that's a gas-focused unit, that is a Lurker. Now, he's got an infestation pit as well. But so he also has a hydrogen. So what does this infestation pit mean? If he's got a hydrogen and an infestation pit, it probably doesn't mean he's going to go infestors. It probably doesn't mean he's going to go swarm host. Although he could. It's probably not going to be the case. It probably means he wants to go for a faster hive And what does a hive entail? Because you need an infestation pit for hive. If he wants to go lurker, well, lurker den only has hive attack allowed upgrades. So this probably means this guy wants to go for hive tech lurkers. That's how I would read this. You cannot make, like, here, because again, here's why, guys. If you guys don't understand, here's why. If you have a build that has the fucking most garbage mineral economy, and then you make hydras off of that, you're not going to have enough hydras to overpower anything that the Protoss can make that is efficiently made. You won't, because hydras will only win fights if they are overwhelming Protoss supply. So, what should it look like if Zerg is going hydras, and if Zerg is going to go hydras and Protoss is going to go whatever, Zerg should actually, the supply should be reversed right now. Zerg should be at 101 and Protoss should be at 79. If Zerg is going to be like, I'm going for a hydra timing. And anyone out there who thinks, well, ViBE, if Zerg spent all of his money, he'd be fine, right? I would say if Zerg spent his money, that would give him 17 supply, or 17 hydras worth of hydras, and he doesn't even have enough supply open to do that. He has enough supply open to make 5. So let's take it down a notch and go, okay, let's take 200 minerals off the top to make overlords with, which is going to give him 16 more supply open, and 16 plus 11 is 26, or 27, Jesus. It's 27. So he's got, let's say he's got 27 supply open now to make 1,500 minerals of hydras, which is, that's still 30 supply. So now we can't even make 2 of those hydras because you take 4 supply off of that, because you only have 27 open. So we can make 1,300 minerals worth of hydras, which is 13 hydras, okay? And 13 supply on top of what he already has is 92 supply. You see what I mean? And even, here's the crazy thing too, even if he were to be matching Protoss, even if they were both at 101 supply, that's still fucking garbage for Zerg. You don't want to be matching supply of Protoss with hydras or with roaches or something like that. You want to be overwhelming them. And the Zerg, realistically, should be at like, if Protoss is at 101 and Zerg's idea is, I'm going to go mass hydras, Zerg should be like at 112 or like 115 right now, or like 120, somewhere in that range. The higher the better, but definitely above Protoss. The fact that Zerg's below Protoss, and even if they spent all their money right now on hydras only, they'd still be below Protoss. That's not good. That's definitely not good. So, yeah, like you get the point. It just really feels like it's a tech focused build because it's so gas heavy. It's not efficient. It's not mineral focused at all. This guy's got some weak mineral lines. So after what I saw here, with all the things we saw earlier, you didn't scout him initially, which kind of sucked for you because you didn't really have a good read on what he was doing, other than you saw he made a hatchery, so you knew you weren't getting one base all in. But other than that, when you finally scouted him with your first hallucinated Phoenix, you got to know, okay, he's got a third base, and we looked at all the income of drones and shit like that. You knew the Zerg wasn't super greedy, seeing the gas focus things going on. And then now the second scout going, okay, well now you have a tech lab, or the tech of Infestation Pit and Hydrogen. This is looking like a very tech-focused Zerg, not a mass-focused Zerg. You cannot tech and mass at the same time. You have to do one or the other, right? So, yeah. And he's also even making static D, too, which is even furthermore fucking ruining his economy. I'm just here to listen to ViBE Flame Gold players. Well, it's talking about why it's efficient, right? It makes sense. You gotta learn. And now that you saw this, I would no longer be thinking, oh, it's going to be mutas probably. I'd be thinking it's going to probably be lurkers. And again, no matter what it is, you can make whatever you want. Stalkers, immortals, it's fine. I would say if you thought, here's the thing though. I would say if you thought it was going to, like, if it's going to be a tech-focused build, if it's going to be tech-focused, I would almost rather prefer you to go for stalkers a little bit more longer than zealots, because if you didn't know what it was going to be, and there potentially was going to be mutas coming at you, I'd be like, well, if you're making zealots now, you're increasing your chances to die for sure, because you can't even hit air with those, and that requires some base trade-esque style stuff going on for you. But you still could do it. It still could totally work. But if it's going to be lurker, zealots are fine as well, as long as you have a good backup of immortals and like archons. So as long as you make those units, you would be fine. We'll see what you do. But keep in mind, if you're going to go Zealot Archon, or sorry, if you're going to go Zealot Colossus, this is more of a this is more of a Terran focused build, not a Zerg focused build when you're playing Protoss. So like Zealot Colossus is good against Terran. It's not so good against Zerg. You should be going Stalker Colossus more so against Zerg if you go Colossus. Also, the Warp Prism is a bit excessive. You don't need the Warp Prism right now. I don't know if that was a misclick or whatever, but you definitely don't need that. Okay, let's look at your probe count. Your probe count's at 72 by 8 minutes. That's not bad. It's respectable. Your fourth base is late, though. Your fourth base should be going down, honestly, around 6 minutes. 6:20, somewhere in there. Like, your fourth base should be done already. And all these probes that are at it should be already mining it for real. You should be making your first base around like 120, 125. So like natural goes down around 120, 125. Your third base should be going down around like 430-ish. 420, 430, somewhere around there with this B2GM shit. And your fourth base should be going down around 6 to 620. Because notice how your mineral fields are depleting in your main base? Your fifth base should be going down around 8 minutes. Your fifth base. And you just started your fourth base. So although your probe creation is decent, could be better. You're not making any more again now. It's decent. You are going to have oversaturated probes because if you made all the way to like 85, your probes will oversaturate your fourth base, and your natural is going to mine out shortly after as well. Like maybe like 2 minutes from now, your natural will start having some problems. So that should be when your sixth base goes down. Okay, never do this either. Don't ever do this. Put static D. This is okay if your goal is to like kill a medevac drop, for instance. This is more of a Terran thing again. If your goal is to like kill a medevac drop and you want to also maybe have like blink stalkers in position to kill the medevac as they try to boost in your base, this would be okay. But against Zerg, always put your static D in your base, in your bases by your mineral line. So this one's okay because not only do you guard the wall, you also guard the mineral line at the same time. That's fine. This is not okay because if he has mutas, oh Jesus, if he has mutas and he like flies mutas like this, he gets into like a pretty wide open mineral line. It's got one cannon at it. He could kill that easy and then just start killing probes. But if you had all your cannons that you're making here in your mineral line and like a battery, suddenly much harder to deal with. Also, you're making cannons way too fast. You should not be making your static D, honestly, until you're maxed out. And then as soon as you move out, then you make static D. A lot of people always make static D way too fast. And all it does is it slows down how fast you can max out because static D is not free. If you make a total of like 10 cannons and like 5 batteries around all of your bases, while you're only at like 140 supply, 10 cannons and like 5 batteries is like 2,000 minerals. And 2,000 minerals in the form of zealots is fucking 40 supply. Like, imagine if that's just obviously zealots only though, but That's a lot of supply in other units too. Not as much as zealots, but still it's substantial. It's not free. So definitely I would highly recommend. The only static D you really need is maybe like a battery at your natural early on, just in case you get all in. And again, maybe a battery at your third base, and that's it. Just early on. And then fill in your cannons and extra batteries later, once you're maxed. The only excuse I would have given you to be like, yeah, this is not a bad move, would be if you 100% confirmed he was rushing mutas, and you wanted to put cannons in your mineral lines to make sure you're okay. Because you're going to have to guard your mineral lines then. That'd be okay. But for what it is, not good for the static D for this game. Too early. It's slowing down your max out. So you confirmed, okay, yeah, it is in fact Lurker Den, and there you go. So everything we talked about has been confirmed. Gas focus seems like tech focus, not mass focused. Hydra is a mass unit, not a tech unit. If anyone ever attacks you with 4 Hydras, they're gonna just die. Like 8 Marines with like a medevac could kill 4 Hydras. Like 6 Adepts could kill 4 Hydras. You know what I mean? Like a battery and 4 Stalkers could kill 4 Hydras. No one's gonna fucking tech rush out a couple Hydras. Whenever someone goes Hydras, they're gonna mass them, and to mass them, they need to have a good economy. So if someone ever has a weak economy, it means they're tech rushing, and tech rush off of a Hydrogen most likely is gonna be Lurker. Otherwise, the build's just really bad. And even though he's going Lurker, it's still really bad because he has a weak ass economy, and it's already really late, and he hasn't even attacked you still. So this Lurker rush is pointless. Like it's not good to tech rush. It requires a lot of adept information in the game. Like I would never recommend it to anybody that's learning the game. It's more of a experienced player thing to do. Also, if you see someone's going Lurker, honestly, I would say either Disruptors or Immortals would be better than Colossus. Lurker's actually kind of counter Colossus. Just throwing it out there. Like, I wouldn't mind if you make a couple Colossus just to like help kill Zerglings and shit, or maybe Hydras if he starts making them. But you should start making like Immortals. Mass Colossus is gonna do nothing to like 16 Lurkers. You're just gonna die. I like your move out with the Zealots. That's nice. Now, but look at this though. Your economy is definitely behind. So this is when you should have taken your 4th base, or sorry, your 5th base, and it's already fully depleted on half the patches. This is when you should be taking your 6th base. You're on 4 bases still. You should have 6 bases right now. And they're still making Colossus, so this is going to be a bit rough. Colossus are good overall, but they're not the greatest against Lurker heavy comp. You can add them into your comp, but like stop making them at like 3 or 4. Like 3 or 4 Colossus and call it a day if you want to make them. Immortals are much better against Lurker. Or Disruptors. But I would just recommend Immortal because they're a move and they're easy. No micro. And you shouldn't be microing in Gold League. So it would be Immortal. Because if this guy has Lurkers in a decent position and they're also Hive Tech upgraded Lurkers, you're going to get destroyed.
Research complete.
And you found out where his newest, most exposed expansion is. You're going to go attack it. I love it. It's really good. But there are Lurkers. Okay, you just ran him over. That's exactly why I said I don't mind if you added a couple Colossus to your army. Like 3 or 4 is fine. But you definitely need more Immortals. You only have like 1 Immortal in this army. Or like 2 Immortals in this army. Against someone who's going heavy lurker opener, immortals are so fucking good. You want to have like 8 of them. If you can help it. But, again, this is Gold League. The fact that you just lost that army, all you gotta do to fix this is macro. Look at your gateways. How many do you have in total? You got 7. That is not enough. You got 7 gates that haven't been touched in a long time. Let's see if you macroed it all during that process. So you maxed out. We have all of your production currently selected right now. 2 Stargate, 2 Robo, 7 Gateway. That's all your production right now. That's not enough for the fact that you have 3,000 minerals in the bank and you're maxed. And you have like 80 probes. What you should be doing right now is you should be taking 2 more expansions while you do this move out, because you really need to keep transferring your money around. And you should be increasing your production to like, right now you have, what is that? It's 11? Right now you have 11 production facilities. You should be going up to like 20 of them. And it's too early for a Skytoss transition in this game right now. It's too early for that. And like, here's why. You don't have enough gas to make a Skytoss fleet right now. So if you take a fight and your ground army dies, he'll just counterattack and kill you.
Oh, yeah.
Overload Gimpy, thank you very much for the 50-month resub. Much love, dude. Thank you, thank you. He'll kill you if you move out right now. And you like if you lose your army and then you're like, I'm going Skytoss, he'll just counter kill you. So what you should do is you could totally make 1 Stargate, and you could totally start upgrading on the Cyber Core, your weapon upgrades for your Stargates, and then you could make your Fleet Beacon when your Stargate's done. That's fine. And then when your Fleet Beacon is started, you could make like an extra like 3 Stargates or 4 Stargates or something. You could totally add on more Stargates to get ready to go Skytoss. But in the meantime, you should have like 15 gateways and like 2 robos or something like that, or like 18 gateways. And you should be remaking Ground Army. And if your goal is to go into Skytoss, you could focus your Ground Army more heavily on the Zealot side of things rather than the Stalker or Archon side of things. That'd be fine, because you're trying to spend all your gas on Skytoss. And then you gradually shift into Skytoss, rather than lose everything and then have nothing and then try to start making Skytoss. There's no gradual transition there. So you definitely don't have enough production. And let's watch this. Watch the fight when it happens. Look at this fight. Now, while we're looking at this fight, what I really want you to look at, I want you to look at all these gateways, these robos, and these Stargates. Now, we can tell if they're ever used because the Stargates will have boxes in them, little white boxes. The robos, same thing, little white boxes. The gateways will fade out into a dark gray, like cooldown, like it's been used. Let's see if you make any units this entire fight. You made 2 Colossus. You just made your gateways. Okay. So you did just spend your gateways. Around like 170 supply or so. And you started 2 Colossus. That's good. I'm glad you did that. But look at your money. You're not able to max out. And you're not able to spend your bank. What this means is the only time it's ever an excuse, the only time you ever have an excuse to have a bank is if you're maxed. And if you don't have a max army and you do have a bank and it's a substantially large bank, it means that you're not making enough production. The best time to make production is as soon as you max the first time and you make enough production to prepare for the remax the second time. This is another common problem of tons of people in like beta gym style shit, is they just make enough production to max the first time and they never make any more. They just kind of sit on it. And they will take you forever to remax on 7 gates, 2 robos, and 2 Stargates. That is not enough. You should have, seriously, like I said before, like 18 gateways and like 2 robos. How'd you click the gateways without clicking the pylon? Like this. Double click or control click. And if you hold shift, You can hold shift and control, click it like that. Shift and control, click it like that. Shift and control, click, click. Control clicks all on the screen, and shift adds in all that you clicked. Alright. Now, so like look at your supply now, right? This is scary. This is the moment when you're like, oh fuck. I am super high in money and super low in supply. These are the moments where you could die. You're adding on production now, which I love, but you definitely should have done it earlier, before you took a fight. Like, I want you to keep this in mind too. I just said you should have taken this extra production before you took a fight. And it's not necessarily like saying, don't even move out until you make more production. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what were you doing that was so important when you maxed out the first time? Like what? We'll go back to that. Go back to like 10:30. What were you doing when you maxed? Okay, yeah, that target transitions way too fast. Way too fast. So, what's going on here right now? How long have we been looking at that base for? Like, I would say your army should be going, like, now. And, there we go. You're kind of taking your time to set everything up. Like, you could have moved out, about, I feel like, about a minute ago. So you finally move out of your base at 11:30. You finally leave your base. You're at 200 supply. You were basically maxed. Like, honestly, like now. You waited a full minute for 5 supply. You see, you see what I mean? Like, for instance, when you're getting ready to move out and attack someone, not only should you be sending your zealots out, you should have already relocated this army in the front of your base. You're just like being like maxed out at 10:30 and then finally leaving your base at 11:30 is very, 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 very sloppy. You have to definitely fix shit like that, because shit like that is going to weaken your timing, like, substantially. Because look at this. You're going to grow 5 supply in the next minute. How much supply is the Zerg going to grow in the next minute? You just grew 5 supply, and the Zerg just grew like 25 supply. And now you're finally moving out across the map. And by the time you get to his base, he's maxed. You had like a 50 supply lead, and it's even now. Because you waited so long. Smacker seems good for gold 1. Yeah, he's doing beat a gym. Okay, I'm glad you remade a ground army. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of your ground army because it's Colossus heavy against lurkers, which is scary. But again, who gives a fuck? As long as you macro, you can win no matter what. I'm talking more as if you're like higher level right now, like you're diamond or something. But yeah, like who cares? If you make Colossus, good shit. Just fucking go kill him. Like, be more aggressive. That's the Colossus thing right there. But again, at this point in time, if you just had macro pumping nonstop, like you have nothing in production again. Your gateways are on cooldown. Your robos are doing nothing. Your stargates are doing nothing. Your probes are doing nothing. You're kind of falling apart on the upkeep a little bit. Gateways are the only thing that's doing decent right now because you just did a warping round of zealots. How many production buildings do you have? Now you got 22 gates, 2 robo, 2 stargate. That's better. You definitely have a much more respectable production value now. But you don't have enough money to afford it though. Is now the problem. Now what's gonna happen to you is you're gonna deplete your bank account, and you're never gonna be able to, like, now if you can't remax, it's gonna be because you don't have enough money to do it, not necessarily you don't have enough production to do it. You just don't have the money to maintain it. And why do you not have enough money to do it? You're oversaturated by 1, which is not that big of a deal, but it adds up a little bit. You're oversaturated by 7. You are idle with 11 probes here. So that's 1, 7, 11. That's, what is that? That's 15 probes already? That's a fully saturated mineral line, essentially. Or no, wait, what? 1, 7, 11. That's 19 probes. What are we talking about? That's 19 probes. That's a fully saturated mineral line and 1 gas. That's almost a fully saturated base entirely. And then this base is missing 5, which is fine. And this base is, you know, if you would have split 5 probes here and the rest of the probes over here, suddenly your economy is looking a lot better again. And you really need to have started another base again because your 3rd base is mining out. I'm going to head to bed for to work tomorrow. I put in 50k for a 1v1. Can we do it tomorrow possibly? I didn't even see you did that. I'm not streaming tomorrow, Armageddon, but next time I stream, yeah, remind me. You remind me and I'll remember that you did that. But yeah, I've been pretty busy today with coaching and replay analysis, so I haven't really had time. Sorry, man. Have a good night yourself. Thank you, thank you. So this attack is nice. That's a good attack. You just kind of fucked his economy up a bit. So you do another little bit of a poke here. I don't mind shit like this. You don't even have to micro it. Just throw it at him. It's fine. But now he's attacking you. Keep macroing. You lost this game? The reason, so everything we talked about right now is somewhat relevant, especially the scouting stuff. That is relevant for you opening your mind to progressing at the game in the future. Like when you get Platinum League and when you get Diamond League, you should start thinking like that more and more. In Gold League, you really don't got to use your scouting functions that well. It's not that big of a deal. If you actually never looked at his base ever, other than to see how many expansions does he have, that actually would be totally fine. What killed you this game, 100%, is your delayed expansions. Like your probe count was, I would say this, if I had to give you letter grades, I'll give you letter grades, okay? And an A, and so an A is like you're gonna get promoted. You're gonna go to the next league. You're gonna get out of gold. And you're gonna go to plat for sure. This is like above your skill level. Like you're gonna be promoted for sure, and so on and so on. Okay, so if I had to give you a grade for your probe production, I would give you a B for Gold League. It was a little bit better than average, but it could have been better. You made probes mostly okay. But then you had these moments where you had these hiccups where nothing was made for a while, and then you went back to making again. So I give you a B for probe production. When it comes to Nexus timing, I give you a D. It's a little bit below average. Your first expansion and your second expansion were okay. Your natural and your third were all right. It was looking pretty decent for you. You definitely ramped up early in the game at a decent pace to like, you had like 100 supply, and the Zerg's like 80. But after that, your 4th base was very delayed. Your 5th base was extremely delayed. And then your 6th base just got started like right now. This 6th base should be started at like fucking 10 minutes. Not 18 or 17 rather, because it's been up for almost a minute. But you're a bit late on the Nexus. I give you like a D for Nexus timing. 125 for your natural or so. About 4 minutes. Yeah, like 4:30 ish for your 3rd base. About 6 to like 6:20 for your 4th base. About 8 minutes for your 5th base. 10 minutes for your 6th base. Like, these bases need to be going up much faster. And you'll have way more money to work with because you'll actually have a consistent 85 probes or so. Not inefficiencies like crazy, like what you've had throughout this game. And then lastly, your upkeep of your base, which is fixing problems that start to appear when shit starts to mine out. I give you an F on that. You never really fixed it very much at all. Like, you kept just neglecting it. That is the biggest thing you need to work on. So if you just fix your upkeep of your mineral lines and your expansion timings of your Nexus, you will have so much more money so much faster, and you will be able to actually maintain high production value for a lot longer. And it doesn't ever end. It does end, but here's when. The only time production like that ends, where you constantly like keep building new Nexuses and rotating existing Nexuses over when they start mining out, when that finally ends is when the map runs out of money. That's when it's over. As soon as the map is out of money or the game is over, that's when you can stop doing that. But until that point in time, you need to keep doing it the whole fucking game. So that is huge. That's fucking huge. And the concept is you always have a full 80 to 85 probes mining efficiently the entire time. And if you can do that, you will always be able to instantly remax every time you take a fight. When I tell you don't micro, if you've been working on your macro the whole time to make sure your bank account is just fucking flowing in the resources like crazy, every time, even if it's a bad fight, even if you do make Colossus versus Lurker, that I think is not great, even if you take a fight and you lose the army, Zerg, if they're not macroing as efficient as you are, which will definitely be the case in Gold League, the Zerg will be like at 150 when the fight's over, and you'll be right back to 200 supply again. And even if you make the wrong thing, but you just have more of it than your opponent does, you'll still win, because more shit beats less shit in StarCraft. That's just how this game works. You don't always have to do the correct counter in every single situation, unless you and your opponent are both able to macro flawlessly. Then that is a thing. But if one of you can't macro flawlessly, whoever just can macro flawlessly will win regardless. Whoever can just constantly overwhelm and overmake shit over their opponent will be the winner. Again and again and again and again. And you're definitely missing the beat on that with your super delayed upkeep of your economy. Not necessarily, ViBE. Morlings will not beat carriers. They will, though. And you want to know why? If you overwhelm your opponent with wave after wave after wave after wave of efficient Zerglings and they're going carriers, you will kill their base. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, just a lot more efficient with the upkeep of everything, of your economy. And also, like, the big things to recap on are don't build static D until you're maxed out. Like, you really don't want to be making a bunch of cannons that slow down your timing, because realistically, if you did not make a bunch of cannons and you did not sit there in your base for a full minute after you maxed out, you said, like, you attacked at 11:30 and you could have maxed out in like 10 minutes. So imagine if you moved out of your base at 10 minutes and attacked your opponent with a maxed army instead of attacking at 11:30, like full 90 seconds faster. That would be fucking huge at the difference of power your army would have. Because, again, your opponent did a super inefficient build. This guy's build was massively inefficient. It was such low economy, such heavy gas, And you did a mostly efficient build. You had the idea of efficiency. You could have done it better too, but you did a pretty good job overall, relative, with the pro production at least. And you somehow maxed out, and you guys both fought with 200 supply armies. Like the first fight you guys had was when you both were at 200 supply. That is not really acceptable if your opponent's build is super inefficient. It means that you're doing something wrong somewhere along the line, which is like that 90-second window of time where you could have just not wasted. Like if you and also on top of that, if you make your macro element of things even more streamlined and efficient, you could be attacking your opponent maybe at 9:30 or like 9:15 instead of 11:30. So lots and lots and lots of shit that could be just done faster. But yeah, like the big ones, we already kind of went over it. Fix those economy problems you have, and you will feel so much fucking stronger because you'll be hitting these timings even faster. And you should be able to remax, because the last thing I'll reiterate one more time, you should be making more production when you're maxed out, because when you're maxed out, your probe count should be perfect, because you should be getting to probe count before maxing. And when you have maximum income coming into your bank, you should be adding on up to around 20 to 24 production facilities in the form of like 20 gateways or some shit and like 2 robos or whatever, something like that. And then you should be making units as the fight happens. You literally don't need a micro. You don't need a micro at all. As long as you're just going, oh, okay, fight's happening. Supply is going down to 196, 200, 194, 200, 192, 200, 196, 200, 194, 200, 198, 200. It just fucking remaxes over and over. It's like a needle on fucking max, just going back and forth from like 194 to 200 over and over and over. And the fight is over completely, and you lost all your army. But by the time the fight's over, the Zerg went from 180 supply or 200 supply or whatever down to 140, and you are sitting on 200 again. That's the idea, because not enough people, like, because here's why, okay? Here's why. If you can do that, you're not going to be Gold League for very long. You're going to get promoted, because you will beat people who are genuinely Gold League that don't know how to do that. Because if you ever go, well, ViBE, what if your Zerg opponent is also using B to GM? Well, that guy's not going to be Gold League for very long either. One of you might beat the other one. Sure, that's going to happen. But both of you are going to get promoted out of Gold League pretty fucking fast. So if you lose to that guy and he beats a couple other people, he's going to be fucking in Platinum in no time. And then he's going to do the same thing in Platinum, and he's going to be Diamond in no time if he's able to do it efficiently. It's just who can do it more efficiently is going to win, really. And that's what it takes to be able to play high-level StarCraft. If you can't macro properly, you'll die. Every time. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. Thank you very much for doing it, my dude. Jacanes. Jacanes. Thank you very much, dude. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps. I will also make this a VOD on YouTube, so it'll be uploaded by tomorrow, so you'll be able to watch it again if you want to hear through this stuff again for a refresher. But much love, dude. Thank you for doing it. Appreciate you submitting a replay, and shout out to you for taking the plunge to put yourself under the microscope to be more or less criticized, even though it's for constructive criticism. Good shit, dude. The progress mindset. Thank you for doing it. And everyone else who's watching, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, go check out more videos. Tons of them out there on the YouTube channel. Just click around. I have playlists designed for coaching, replay analysis, Bronze GM, all types of guides and information for like learning how to get better at StarCraft for all ranges of leagues. But until next time, guys, take it easy. Much love. I'll see you next time, and see ya. Later, guys.